In this video, I'm going to be building what I think is the best possible team right now in NBA 2K23. My team going into Season 7 at the end of Season 6. Just want to build you guys the best team in the game and see what it does look like before we go into a new season and we get all of these new invincible and top tier cards in the game. Just what is the best squad currently in my team. So let me know in the comment section down below your guys' best 10-man team in the game using all the cards available. What do you guys think is the best squad you guys can make right now in my team? But at my starting point guard position is going to be the dark matter hero Ben Simmons. I do think he is the best point guard in the game because he's 6'11" with a 7-foot wingspan. He's got such a good player model in game, and just the defense and size he brings to the table is pretty much like no other point guard in the game besides Nikola Jokic. But even his defense I think is better than Jokic with a 90 block, 95 steal, 97 lateral quickness, 97 perimeter, 95 interior defense. His slashing ability is pretty much like no other point guard in the game with a 98 driving dunk. And just his slashing animations, he gets great dunk packages, he gets a lot of foul calls, he's amazing at finishing in transition, in contact, like all around he's just great at going to the basket. And now that he does have a 91 3 ball, really good Hall of Fame shooting badges, and his jump shots on very quick timing, I think his release and him knocking down threes is a lot more consistent. And I think him in the backcourt alongside invincible Tracy McGrady is probably the best backcourt you can build right now in the game, because you got T-Mac, a guy that's going to handle the ball pretty much 90% of the possessions because he's a 6'8" 2 guard, 7'2" wingspan, perfect stats, 55 Hall of Fame badges, has the best jump shot in the game with the KPJ base, the Oscar Robertson upper on very quick timing. He's going to handle the ball. So all Ben Simmons needs to do is sit there in the corner, hit a wide open three when he's wide open. He could drive to the basket when he needs to, but he's just going to be there for defense and to be the lockdown on your starting lineup, a guy that can guard the 1 through 4 at a very high level and just be a big body at the point guard position and let T-Mac do most of the work alongside the dark matter hero Bol Bol, which I think is the perfect combo next to T-Mac and Ben Simmons, a guy that's going to give you great size, being 7'2" with a 7'7" wingspan, and he can do everything on the court at a very high level. He's not just going to be there for defense, even though he's a great defender. He's not just going to be there for size because he's a great offensive card. He can move really well with the Kyle Lowry size up, the tray escape, the Dame behind the back, the quick drops off one, and he does have a capable jump shot where he can green consistently, off the dribble and especially in the catch and shoot. I know there's guys like Chet who we'll talk about here in a second. I do think him and Chet are very close to the small forward position, but I do think Bol Bol right now is the best small forward in the game, especially alongside Tracy McGrady and Ben Simmons. Now for the front court is going to be the two titans, and that's going to be the dark matter hero Manute Bol, the lock-in for the Friday heroes, the card that's over 10 million MT still, or 8 million MT. He might go, I think he's still like 10 mil, not 100% sure. And then at the starting center position is going to be a card that you have to lock in for Manute Bol, and that's going to be the dark matter hero Yao Ming. I mean, to have this front court, like, I just don't see how you would lose a clutch time game with this starting five. Like, if you have Manute Bol at power forward, 7'7" with an 8'5" wingspan, pretty much all around great stats and badges, he's going to be super glitchy, has a good jump shot, but it mainly just comes down to his size and his animations, his player model, his wingspan. And then you have Yao Ming at the center position alongside Manute. Like, I'm wondering if you take any person on the planet that plays 2K, somewhat consistently, and you give them this 5-man rotation, and unless you verse this exact 5-man or a team like this, how would they lose in the game? I don't understand how you beat this squad unless you have a very similar, like if you have maybe Jokic at point guard, Terry Dishinger at shooting guard, Chet at small forward, Taco Fall at power forward, and then like Manute Bol at center. If you have that type of lineup and you're a really good player compared to a maybe not so good player, I could see how they could beat this squad. But like, if you're competent at the game, somewhat decent, and you don't match into a squad exactly like this, how do you lose with Ben Simmons at point guard, T-Mac at shooting guard, Bol Bol at small forward, and then Manute and Yao Ming in the front court? I just don't see how you lose with this type of starting five in your starting lineup. And then off the bench, like I just said some names out there, you can make a really comparable bench. I don't think as good as the starting lineup, but you can make a bench that can compete with the starting five. A Jokic card who's 6'11" with a 7'3" wingspan at that point guard position. The only other point guard in the game, in my opinion, that just has great size that can match up against a card like Ben Simmons. His defense is actually pretty solid, but mainly and just going to be here for his offense with a 98 3 ball, 98 mid-range, has an amazing jump shot with the Eric Paschal base, the Oscar Robertson upper on very quick timing, and then also really solid dribble sigs for a card who's 6'11" at point guard and does have the quick drops off one and the front clutches as well. So Nikola Jokic, I think right now is the second best point guard in the game. Off the bench at the backup 2, I think it's really between Terry Dischinger and Tim Thomas. I think Vince Carter is also a great option as well, who we'll talk about here in a second. I think Vince is one of the more underrated shooting guards in the game, but I think next to Jokic, you got to go Tim Thomas just because he's 6'10" with a 7'2" wingspan. He, once again, just like Invincible T-Mac, is one of the better offensive cards in the game. He's got the LaMelo Ball base, the Trae Young upper on very quick timing, such a fast jump shot, and really easy to green with in my opinion. He's got the Trae fade, Steve Francis size up, Trae escape, he's got front clutches, he's got amazing defensive tendencies, including a 90 block shot, 90 contest shot, and a 88 on-ball steal tendency. I mean, this card is just super broken at the shooting guard position, and I think in the backcourt is definitely comparable to our starting lineup backcourt. You know, Jokic and Ben Simmons, I think pretty much cancels each other out. And then yes, Invincible T-Mac is fairly better than Tim Thomas, but Tim's got the size, he's got a great jump shot, and actually better dribble sigs than Invincible T-Mac. So I think this backcourt off the bench is going to be super deadly with Nikola Jokic and Tim Thomas. But then at the backup 3 is going to be the Dark Matter hero Chet. Like I said, him and Bol Bol, very similar cards. I think if you want to start Chet over Bol Bol, that's definitely fair to say. I just personally, preference wise, like Bol Bol a tad bit more because Chet's jump shot is okay. I don't like his dribble sigs too much. Like, I do like the Kyle Lowry size up a lot more than the DeMar size up, and I also do prefer the Trae escape over the Curry escape, but that one really just comes down to preference. The two best escapes in the game, 100%. Jump shot wise, I also like Bol Bol's release a tiny bit more, not by a ton, but I think Chet's probably the better defender, maybe a little bit better going to the basket, but I think Bol Bol's got better dribble sigs, has a better jump shot, and also a little bit better of a player model. But once again, very similar cards at that small forward position. And then off the bench, we got the Pink Diamond Taco Fall, who's going to be not as good as Manute Bol, but he's still got great size at the backup power forward position, being 7'6" with an 8'2" wingspan. We know he's going to be one of the best paint defenders in the game. He's one of the best mashers in my team, and the card only goes for like 150,000 MT. He surprisingly is actually going to be the cheapest card in this squad by a mile. Like, if you look at all the cards here, they all go for what, at least 500,000 MT, like at bare minimum. I think a lot of these guys probably like close to 1 million at least. And then you got Taco Fall, who's on these cards type of level, but he's going to be only 150,000 MT. So Taco Fall, actually extremely good value, guy that can play on the best team in the game for only 150,000 MT. And then for the backup center position, I do think is going to be the Dark Matter Kristaps. And I will say for the front court, it really depends. You know, do you want to put all your firepower on the starting lineup? Do you want to go Manute Bol and Yao Ming in the front court? Or do you maybe want to space it a little bit and go like Yao Ming off the bench with Taco Fall? Something like this you could potentially do. Or maybe you even go like this. You start Taco Manute, and then you have Kristaps and Yao in the backcourt, right? Kristaps at the 4, or in the backup front court, you have Kristaps at the backup 4, Yao Ming at the backup 5, and then you got Taco starting 4 and Manute Bol starting 5. Really depends how you want to run your lineup with these front court guys. I think the small forwards, I think everybody would go Bol Bol and Chet. I think most people would go T-Mac and Tim Thomas, and I think most people would go Ben Simmons and Nikola Jokic. For me personally, I think you just put all your firepower in the starting lineup, and then you have a good enough bench with Chet, with Tim Thomas, Jokic, Taco Fall, Kristaps. Like, you got enough size, everybody over 6'10". I mean, you'll definitely be fine. Height-wise, you got some guys in there like Kristaps, 7'3", you know, Taco Fall, 7'6". You'll definitely be fine height-wise. And then just to put a couple other players on the bench here, guys like Terry Dischinger, I think are definitely on that Tim Thomas, Tracy McGrady type of level. Has the KPJ base, Carmelo Anthony upper, on quick timing, is a great jump shot, very good dribble sigs with the Steve Francis size up, the Curry escape, all around still one of the best shooting guards in the game. And just to give another point guard option, in case you want a little bit more offense, you know, compared to a Nikola Jokic or a Ben Simmons, I think Luka is the best offensive point guard in the game, at least for me personally. Just lacks a little bit of defense compared to the Ben Simmons and the Jokic's of the world, but still all around one of the best point guards. And then just to throw a wild card out there, I think Vince Carter is super elite, and like for me personally, I think he's on that Tim Thomas, Terry Dishinger, maybe not T-Mac level, but I think he can compete against all these top tier shooting guards, and he's only going to go for around 200,000 MT, and I really do like his jump shot and think he's amazing at going to the basket. But in my opinion, guys, this is going to be the best team at the end of season 6 going into season 7. I think this is right now the best possible team you guys can build. But like I said earlier at the start of the video, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think is the best 10-man or 13-man rotation you guys can build right now in the game? But hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.